So hello everyone. Welcome to the next Hiveworks stream. We're doing a little casual chat thing. We usually do at Hiveworks when we do these streams, we do very kind of involved and maybe even heavy topics about fantasy and editing and stuff. And this time we're actually gonna switch gears a little bit and just we have today myself. My name's Atla Hrafney. I'm one of the editors at Hive, and with me is the lovely Taylor Robin or Corny. So,
Me.
say hello, Corny.
Hello.
Wonderful. And we also have Kate Ashwin, author of Widdershins. Say hello,
Hello.
Kate.
Hi.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So what we're just going to be doing today is we're just going to be kind of introducing both your comics and kind of introducing some of the comics that you recommend to others that you kind of enjoy that are also at Hiveworks, and kind of chatting about them and what you like about them and how they might influence you and influence your works. And it's just going to be kind of a very casual kind of stream. We're not going to be going into too deep things, hopefully. So how about we introduce Corny? Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do in your comic.
Well, my comic is Never Satisfied. It's about these just who are magic. They have familiars, and they've all been competing to get this one job, like the biggest magic job they can get. And it's just about how they learn to be people at each other, basically.
Mm-hmm. Say it in a nutshell, like very kind of competing, but also like trying to learn to be human, that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
And
don't be bad at each other. Unfortunately, they're very bad at that.
they're all gremlins, unfortunately.
Just wretched awful children.
So you use he him pronouns just for
I
the
do.
record. Yeah, and I
I'm
use
boy.
she her. Our boy. And next up we have Kate. You do Widdershins. Tell us a little bit about your whole shindig.
Yeah, sure. So, Widdershins is a series of Victorian era adventure stories. They're kind of Indiana Jones style adventures, but with wizards, because everything's better when you have wizards.
And confirm.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. And they're basically like separate but quite interconnected stories following bounty hunters and magicians and all sorts of stuff. Basically, it's the fun yarns is what I go for. And as you said, my name's Kate, and I go by she and her. So
Okay, wonderful. So tell me a little bit. I'm gonna start just with Corny. So what basically what we're gonna be doing for the format of this is you're just gonna kind of introduce a comic that you would recommend to readers, and I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions. Kate's gonna interject, maybe you chat a little bit, like stuff like that. So what comic would you actually recommend to people who enjoy some Highworks stuff?
I guess we can start with Paranatural because I feel like.
Go on then.
Yes, I took it. Because Paranatural is Paranatural is like it's very similar to Never Satisfied, very unintentionally, but
the magic teens with color coded super magics.
I started reading Paranatural like a year into working on Never Satisfied.
I know. I fully believe you. It's just the coincidences were like, oh, I was reading it. I was like, wow, feels like there is a lot of this in Never Satisfied, actually. Like in a good way, obviously.
Like, don't even get me started on Isabella and Anna both being red magic users, both Latina, and both losing a spider traumatically.
God, that's true. Oh my God, I didn't
I
even
know.
realize.
I should be sued.
And it's like these comics both started around what, like 2011, 2012? Like kind of during that peak time of like being inspired by like late 90s like kind of action comics or like anime of that time. So it definitely is understandable that you would be kind of making slightly similar stories because you're probably taking like inspiration from similar forms of media, you know?
Yeah, probably. I need to turn off push talk. It's making me way too.
Like, should I be talking about this? Is this something that is actually relevant to the discussion? Just like existential crisis
Probably.
while me and Kate are talking.
Is it worth pushing the button to open my mouth?
Like a new Netflix horror movie.
Uh,
I will say I literally just read Paranatural today on Corny's recommendation, and it is phenomenal. If you haven't read Paranatural, you should. It's about a group of kids basically with superpowers and there are
ghosts.
ghosts and spirits and very very flawed teachers. Um, and it's extremely worth a read.
It's got like some of the funniest, both just character expressions, like the way that the people are drawn, some of the funniest writing, like of anything I've ever read. Like you got puns, you got character humor, you got slapstick, like it's the whole package.
It won me over when one character said something about pacifist, and then someone said, "I'll pacifist through your face," and I was just like, "Okay, yeah, I like this comic."
Yeah, the wordplay is probably my favorite kind of the comedy.
Yeah, the faces are also incredible. Like, my God, he just super goes for it with the facial expressions.
They, them for Zach.
Oh, they. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
That was fun. Yeah, I should. While we're doing this, I should go find the pronouns of all of the authors. But yeah, it's very because I see everyone because I know a couple of people because when Paranatural was starting, I was still in college and I know people who were still fans of Paranatural who kind of were in that like Homestuck crowd and needed like more stuff to satisfy that like comedy itch. And whenever I see satisfy, and whenever I see people like actually make like appreciation posts or like talk about it, it always centers around the humor, like always the kind of like expressions and the like artistic skill. Like even though people do care about the characters, the overall story isn't what like really draws people in. It's the humor itself.
I mean,
I think it's because partly we don't entirely know the full story yet. Like it's still ramping up into the main conflict.
Yeah, there's
and comedy is such an easy thing to sell.
Yeah, that's true.
It's been when did it start? It started like 2012 or so, right?
It says 2011 on the very first.
Is that like the magic year? What happened in 2011 that so many people started comics?
When did Homestuck end?
It
ended in 2016, but that wasn't it. But I think that's when it was really popular.
Yeah, it's really, I think it's really interesting because the mystery, because I kind of fell off the wagon after I left college for like a lot of the webcomics that I was reading at the time. So I was like, giving myself time to read it fully back to back. So it's really interesting for me to know that in the about 5 years since I left, the story is still ramping up. And like it still kind of has that mystery angle. Like 9 years into it, you know?
That almost sounds like a criticism, but that's just webcomics, baby.
Yeah, that no, that but that like it's not necessarily a criticism. I think it's just really interesting, and also that takes an enormous amount of patience from the author of not just like completely tipping their hand in 9 years, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like pacing a mystery is the trickiest thing. It really is. Like just being able to know when to let out enough information to keep, but keep the mystery there so people are still interested. But you also have to answer questions at the same time as asking them, because otherwise it's. And I think they definitely do that with Paranatural.
Yeah, because no
Yeah.
matter what, you're constantly always still interested in what's going to happen on the next page because
Oh
every page
yeah.
is funny. Like, I don't
Yeah.
think there's a single page that doesn't have either a joke or like just a good, memorable moment on it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They're so dense with content.
I can't believe how dense
Absolutely.
the pages are. That was sorry. That's definitely what really hit me as I was flipping through. Was sometime I think like at the start of the 5th chapter, their page density really ramps up, and they start doing some really clever stuff with the page layouts.
Yeah. And
Uh,
it's also yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, Kate.
Oh, I was just gonna say there's a point where they literally use like the character's lunch tray as like
Oh, yeah, that
the
page is so
setup for the
good.
panels. So
Oh, I
good.
wonder if I can find it and link it in the chat because people got to see it.
I
Yeah.
think I can.
When
I'm
did
not
that
far off
happen?
it.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's interesting because like the mystery element is something that I think about a little bit because if you've got I think the comedy is what keeps also people hooked because like it's the thing that's the immediate like reward when you're reading it. It's very funny and it's keeping you engaged at all times. It's common while setting up like a greater mystery, you know.
And it's so quotable.
Oh, very. I see panels of it out of context like all the time.
Yeah. I would not be surprised if there's a Paranatural out of context like Twitter account.
I can confirm for a fact there is one on
That,
Tumblr.
oh, there we
100%.
go. Um and it's also like a much finer I wanted to say real quick, it's a much finer balance because like it's a webcomic. You know, like if you've got a print comic, you can kind of you can wait a year, 2 years, 3 years, and then release the next part of the mystery and you can like spin it in a very intentional way. But in webcomics, you're going week by week or month by month, and you don't always have that like luxury. So you have to keep people entertained like on the spot week by week, you know?
Yeah, the sort of serialized nature of webcomics is always such a weird one.
On the
It's a
page.
really yeah, sort of a oh, you found it good. Link it.
Yeah, I just popped it in
Um,
the Twitch chat.
but yeah, the way you have to as a webcomic person, you have to keep people, as you say, hooked page to page, but you also probably you're making this a print too. So you have to make something that reads well in in a book format and in a day by day um sort of updating format, and also for people who are archive binging and such. It's a strange balance.
Yeah, and to jump to another one of the comics we wanted to talk about today, uh, one of the things I like about Sakana and Mad Rupert, who does it, is that she has these "How do I make Sakana" like little things in between chapters sometimes. And one of the things that she said and recommends for when you're writing a webcomic is to always have some kind of punchline at the end of
Yeah.
the strip. And that's something that totally stuck with me after I read it. And that's something I try to do with my comic where I draw my pages in batches of 2. I try to, whenever I can, make something interesting happen on the Friday page.
That's smart.
Mhm. And that
Yeah,
especially it especially works well for like the more like the settings like Paranatural and the settings like Sakana. Like Sakana is
it's very
made to be
different
like
from
a
Paranatural, but very similar still.
yeah, like it's still a gag a day like sort of thing. Um let me see. Taylor, why don't you tell us what Sakana is? What's it about?
Sakana is a black and white comic set in Japan at the, I want to say, Tsukiji Fish Market. Thank God she had it written down right there in Tokyo, which sadly doesn't exist anymore.
Oh,
But
yeah, it went like
yeah,
just last year or something, didn't it?
yeah, and it was for the Olympics, which is just
Oh no.
huge bummer. But anyway, it's about these brothers that work at the fish market. One of them is in love with the girl that works across in the fish market, and it's just this comedy about of errors of trying to like learn who she is, try to date her, and all the people around them in the fish market having similar problems. There's a lot. It's hard to condense it to an elevator pitch.
It's a very
Well,
slice of
that's
life
kind
kind
of
of
Yes, it's a
romance.
slice of life romantic
yeah.
comedy.
It like when I'm just kind of like looking through it right now, it almost reminds me a little bit of like the complexity and yet simplicity of like Ranma Half, and like how the baseline pitch is pretty simple, and then they just keep sort of building and then building on top and then building on top until it becomes impossible to really describe what actually happens like week by week, you know?
I mean, yeah, that's fair to say.
Web comics and manga have that in common, I feel.
Yeah.
They're just very slow.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the thing that kind of drew me to I keep calling it Sakana in my head because I'm just not good at
I don't know how it's pronounced correctly.
It's probably Sakana. But the thing that really drew me to it originally was that inking.
Yeah, the
Oh my
inking is so
God.
good.
Out of this world inking.
I feel like it's very hard to sell a webcomic these days that's black and white.
Oh
But
yeah.
boy howdy,
I
does Sakana.
know.
I'm gonna say Sakana. Do it.
Fair enough. But yeah, no, like her inking was just immediately like, oh my God, this is gorgeous.
So good.
Is it, let me see here. Is it physical or is it digital? Like how is she?
Physical,
It's
I
by hand.
believe. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like inked.
I mean, all
inked
drawing is by hand, but yes, it's on paper.
pen and
Mhm.
ink. Which is like,
Yeah,
oh
and
my God. I
And
could
like the
not live without the
lettering is all
undoodle.
by hand on
Oh, she does a
paper.
lot with she does a lot with the lettering as
The
well.
lettering is very impressive. I mean, she does it professionally too. Like, I think she letters comics professionally.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Honestly, you can kind of tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely one of those like she's really invested in just making sort of her own little world, which I can really appreciate. Like when you look at like the characters and the way that she makes them emote, and it has kind of a little bit in that it shares with that it shares with Paranatural, in that the greatest strengths are kind of like the way that she tells the jokes rather than like purely the jokes themselves, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Like a character's facial expression in either of those comics can absolutely
It adds
make
so
the
much.
page so much.
Mhm.
And sort of not to make it just all about the humor as well. The drama in Sakana is absolutely, it's got me hooked. I'm desperate to know the outcome of this date. It's killing me. Tell me what happened.
I want Yudai and Taisei to be happy.
I want it so much.
They'll be so cute together.
I know.
Ah, that's really cute.
And Jira, I guess.
You know,
And
the
so,
main character, I
The
suppose.
straight people.
so the kind of like the thing that people would enjoy about it is kind of the ship element of it, and like the comedy and kind of like the drama itself and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And just you fall in love with these characters because they're so fleshed out. They're such real, consistent people. Like, you
Oh,
know them.
absolutely.
You get to know them and you care about them.
Mhm.
They do a lot of good, like they have a lot of good conversations, a lot of if you're really into people like opening up and having heartfelt conversations while making faces and like teasing each other a little bit. That's exactly what I love.
It's really good for
So
that. Yeah,
yeah, it
honestly,
really
I
is.
periodically go back to reread the scene, which I'm not going to spoil, but where Yudai gets a text, or he sent a
Ooh,
text, and that scene,
so
Bajiro is just,
good.
it's so good.
Yeah, I was thinking of that exact scene actually.
It's the scene. It's Primo Comics Works.
It really is.
Comics Works,
It's
Comic
just
Work.
Comics
So
works.
it's got a
Comics
couple.
Works.
So it's
Like
got a
Hives
couple of.
Works.
So it's got a couple of like emotional kind of clinchers that people will also get like heavily invested in. It's not just
Oh, absolutely.
like
Yeah, it's not just comedy.
yeah. Okay, that's good to know. How do you guys feel that the work has influenced you, like in terms of being storytellers? Like you mentioned, Corny, you mentioned before the how to sakana was like a big is there
Yeah, like just
periodically.
the way that she approaches writing for a webcomic as making sure something is always happening, either on every page or in my case, every week. So you keep people turning the page basically while also maintaining consistency for a archival reader. I found that to be very useful advice.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I
What about
did
you,
a
Kate?
well, I did a lot of looking at the art actually recently, because I'm bad at jaw lines. She's great at them, so I
That's
did
so
a fair.
specific, but absolutely true about her jaw lines.
Yeah, I don't. I find certain. I don't know. I'm only good at drawing one specific jawline, basically. And she has a lot of variation in her character faces. That it just comes through immediately. Like everyone is so recognizable. You're never going to mix up a character.
Yeah.
And that's it's definitely something I keep looking at and trying to pull apart. Like, all right, how'd she do this? Okay, how can I use this?
I can tell you guys for free that, the character Sango?
Mhm.
I looked directly at her when I was designing Philomena in like 2014, and I feel like once I tell you, it's really obvious.
She did remind me of Philomena, actually. All right, yeah,
Yeah, she's
that's theory
basically right where I
confirmed.
got her.
Speaking of, can we talk about Never Satisfied? Can we do
I would
that?
love to be talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just gonna mention like one last thing about Sakana before we move
Go
on
for it.
to Taylor's lovely comic.
Aw.
Um, we were talking before the stream started about how I was looking at it, and I was like, oh man, like is this? It's set in Japan. It's very like in like a very cultural specific thing in Japan, and I was like, is does are Japanese people like enjoying this and stuff like that? And I contacted Mad, the author, like before this panel to get some a little bit more information about it. And apparently there's just a bunch of like fan comics that they made, and she actually sent me a photo. If Kevster, if you could, Kevin, our lovely
DJ.
tech DJ, if you could send that photo I sent in the Slack, it's like there's just massive collection of like fan art and like and just like thank you notes and stuff like that. This wasn't even I sent one picture. There's a bunch more. It was crazy, and so it really shows that there's a lot of love in Sakana to like kind of be not authentic, but like to be honest and to be like kind of trying really hard to make this like a good
Oh,
story with you.
yeah. Mad
Yeah,
absolutely has done her research. Like, she's been to the fish market several times, or like, well, I don't want to say exactly how many times she's been, but I know she's been there at least once.
yeah.
But like, she's done a ton of research on it.
I think it helps that it's
Uh,
such a lovable comic as well, honestly. Like it's just
Yeah,
very
like it's
lovable.
inoffensive.
Yeah,
I
you
mean, I
can't.
don't know if that's exactly the word I want, but like you can't hate it. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, because there's always that discussion of there's always that discussion of like cultural appropriation and appreciation. But I think a good barometer is how much fan art from the country that you're talking about are you getting? Like, I think that's
Yeah.
and if you've got enough to fill a table, then you're probably on a decent path.
God, I would love to read those Toshinshis.
I know. I'm looking at them now, like, what's in there?
I
One of those says
wonder.
R18.
Oh, does it?
Uh-oh.
We're not.
Sure does.
We're not allowed to talk about that on air. But like, I would love to flip through all of them and be like, wow, these people like love these characters and want to see them happy. And Matt, fucking update it and make them happy so all that we can see more fan art.
I think she
But
seems to be closing in on like a final volume.
Yeah, she recently had a Kickstarter for, I want to say, Volume 3.
mhm.
But she's just been very busy with various projects going on all at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's been a bit.
I think it said it seemed to be saying that she was working towards a final volume for like to wrap it up. Which, if so, that's fantastic. Honestly, I like it when a story comes to an end. You know.
Yeah, that's like the dream for webcomics to end like the ending. And Kate, you are the only person I know who has lived
Really?
that dream.
I'm the only one you know who's finished one.
I think.
Oh gosh.
I'm trying to think of webcomics I've read that are finished, period. I'm not
Well,
sure.
the key to that is to start in 2003. Not really applicable advice.
Kate, I'm gonna hurt you. I was in 3rd grade.
No,
yeah, no, I was.
I don't even know what 3rd grade is, and that sounds just super young.
I would have been 6 plus 3 is 9 years old.
Okay, I'm just gonna crumble into dust now.
I would have been a little bit younger than Corny at the time.
Oh no!
Oh my god, you're younger than me.
I was in university.
Grandma.
Oh no!
But
old grandma internet.
So speaking of horrible pressure, Kate, tell me what you like about Never Satisfied while the author is on recorded live stream with us.
Okay.
Speak to me.
I will. I love your teens. I love how awful they are to each other, how believably awful. It's absolutely wonderful, like watching them like learn things and grow. It's been it's such a good trip.
Can you that's such an author, like how to take the author compliment. Thanks. Yeah. But Kate, for those, can you do me a big favor and describe to me the plot for those that are just joining us and maybe didn't catch what Corny's explanation of the comic.
Good luck. I could barely do it.
It's a sort of it's sorry, I've got an elevator pitch for my own comic, but like it's always tricky to come up with one for something
Right? It's
else.
like impossible.
Yeah.
Here, I'll do it for you. It's a shonen tournament arc. But it ends.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, so it's about a bunch of like young magicians all competing for a high-ranking position, but mostly it's about the characters' sort of interpersonal relationships. I mean, there's also big magic things happening too, but really it's all about the interactions between them. That's
being mean to each other, having crushes on each other.
That's it.
Sucking all the magic out of each other. Literally, not in a weird way.
But yeah, it's largely the relationships between the characters that is what really, really interests me with Never Satisfied. There was a particular scene where Philomena was accidentally being very, very rude to Lucy, and that just it was very good.
And who is Philomena and who is Lucy? I'm sorry. I'm just gonna. This is my fun time now. I'm just gonna pressure you into.
I know who they are. Pick me.
Go.
All right, Courtney. Do you wanna explain who these two are?
I was kidding, but yes. Lucy is the main character. They're a non-binary brat, as it were. They entered the competition basically just to prove to people that they're actually worth anything, because they have a really bad, mean teacher.
And then
Okay.
realized like 3 seconds in that they'd made a terrible mistake.
Yup, because they are magicless. It's been a couple years since the reveal. I'll just tell y'all. They can't do it. They've been faking their way through it, and they learned the hard way that that's not a great idea. And then there's Philomena, who is not great at magic, but she's very rich and very sweet, and everybody likes her, but she's kind of dumb in that way of understanding people that are not rich and loved by everybody.
Yeah, that's the scene I was talking about. She's very much kind of, she's got the privilege that she has no idea she has, and she's very accidentally kind of throwing it right in Lucy's face and completely not understanding why they're getting progressively madder and madder at her.
Yeah,
And
I like that scene a lot too.
It was really good, and it kind of it hit me because I was that dumb teen. I'm sure I've done that 100 times without realizing, and like it was just a bit of a gut punch to see it like laid out. Like, oh no, I've been Philomena here.
I think we've all been Philomena. The secret to writing terrible teens is making them all terrible in the ways you've been terrible.
They're very, very believably terrible, and the everything going on with the various crushes going back and forth, and the way it all ties into also, you know, this actual major plot point with the magic overwhelming people.
Turning them into monsters.
Yeah, it's all really really good stuff, and there's a big central mystery with Lucy's identity and such to be dug into, and the art is fantastic.
Thanks.
Yeah.
$1. Thanks.
An avocado.
Was it an avocado?
It was an avocado.
It was that meme was an. I thought it was like $5 or whatever.
No, he opens up a present. It's an avocado.
But so Kate, how do you feel that They're Satisfied has like influenced your own work? Like, what lessons have you taken from it?
I think I'm not great at like adding a lot of this sounds harsh. I'm not good at adding flaws to my characters in like a really interesting way. And I think Connie, you're really good at that. So it's something I have been sort of ruminating on, is like just layering a few more flaws onto these fools.
How can I make my characters worse?
Essentially, well, you know, there's a lot of stories are pretty bad at having, you know, a main character who is hero and has just no, they don't really make any mistakes, and they don't really do anything wrong, and they just sort of float through the plot.
Who would you say is the main character of Widdershins? It's a total tangent, but now I'm just wondering who is the one?
I don't
If at all.
think there really is one.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe
Well,
Harry.
Yeah, I would agree with Harry if anybody.
Well,
I love Harry.
on that note, Connie, give us the elevator pitch for Widdershins.
Okay, Widdershins. Oh man, I just flipped way back to the beginning.
Oh no! Don't look at the beginning.
I know. I was like, oh boy. Okay, you've come so far.
You are far. You look at Bloomin' Darken, which was the first comic I did, but don't look at Darken because yikes!
Wasn't Darken like a D&D based thing?
Yeah.
We all have one of those. Anyway, Widdershins is, as Kate said earlier, a Victorian fantasy where you've got an ensemble cast and you've got these magic. Like you've got magic circles, magic. I feel like you have an in-universe term that I want to use for the things that they summon.
Not just spirits.
Spirits. That'll do. Where the magic system about Widdershins is what I love the most, and that's what I want to talk about.
Hey.
Where the magic is based on like human emotions and concepts and like taking them, enhancing them, putting them into things. And I love the way that you use this magic system you've set up to tell all these different stories with different like themes and morals and ideas, which
Hey.
is I love that, and I love that in fiction, which is hugely against everything I talked about in the last panel I did. I don't know if you heard or watched that one where I basically talked about how magic world building and all that is just anathema to me when I do it for myself.
Oh no,
But I love reading stuff with it.
I get the you know, I get the sentiment in the sort of like you don't want to lay down too many rules kind of thing. Like you always bring up that was it Philip Pullman quote where somebody asked like a complex question about how
I think it was
demons
like
work.
how do demons like come to exist? Like how are they born? He was like, don't ask me that. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think like not overthinking it is a pretty big thing, really. But you know,
I
I think
hate to think.
yeah, but you know, having a couple of rules laid down so that it's interesting when they're broken, like Lucy does in your comic,
Nope.
is you know that's a good sort of loose but interesting sort of magic system in my personal opinion.
Yeah, and you got a much more harder, set in stone kind of magic system.
Yeah, mine's got a few more rules. There's you know, there's you've got to draw a circle and you've got to say words, and then that you summon the spirit of you know, anger or you know, spirit of impatience or whatever, and then you get to have a chat with it and try to get it to do what you want.
And you can't do it over water.
You can't do it over water.
I remember that for some reason, that very specific thing. No water.
Oh, good, because it's going to come up in the next one.
Ooh, spoilers. I just remember it mostly because I had to reread that comic about Harry's dad a bunch of times when you had me doing that guest thing. So I reread that one a few times.
Yeah, I bet you did actually. Yeah. Oh, yeah. When you did the short story for the back of the sixth volume, which came out fantastic, by the way.
Thanks. I don't know how to say the word thanks any other way than that, I suppose.
That's it. You're locked in now.
I'm locked in.
We should all just get you an avocado just for the sake of it.
I would love an avocado right about now.
Just chomping on an avocado.
I would. I'm a millennial. What of it?
And it's good to keep in mind that, you know, like one thing I really wanted to mention, every single comic that we've mentioned so far outside of Sakana has been either award nominated or award winning comics. Widdershins was, I believe,
Sakana hasn't been nominated for something?
Hasn't it?
As far
Are you sure?
It should be.
It should be, right? Like,
it doesn't sound right to me.
Yeah, that's exactly the thing. It's really, it's genuinely very influential, at least in the circles that we run in. But Widdershins was, did it get nominated or did it win the 2019? It won.
It won, yeah.
British Fantasy Award.
Yeah, it did.
I didn't know that. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I was not expecting to win that one. It was up against like a Hellboy volume, so I was like, "This is
oh, you definitely deserved it."
Oh, thank you. No, it was a big shock to win that. It's a nice little trophy and everything.
Well, yeah.
I was not necessarily talking shit about Hellboy just then.
No, I know.
It was more that things that are not like franchises, I feel always deserve that kind of award more.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially,
I have opinions about webcomics and awards.
And also, like it's good to keep in mind, like Hellboy has been going on for like at that time like 20 years, you know. So like,
yeah, give somebody else a chance. Get out of here, Mike.
Yeah,
and I'm a big fan of Hellboy. Hellboy's cool, but it's also about uplifting, you know, like the creators around you, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe Hellboy 2019 is not very good. I don't know.
It was very pleasing because I was the only one on the list who didn't like have a publisher listed after the name of the book as well. So yeah, it was kind of nice that there was like you know, a webcomic independent kind of
Not anymore. You're one of us now.
Like it's like
True.
Hellboy, Dark Horse, like Widdershins, me. I am the publisher.
Just me.
Yeah.
But as well, never satisfied. It was there was a Comics Alliance 2015 awards.
Yeah.
Was that
It
a
was basically
nomination?
like I think it was anybody could nominate and then anybody could vote.
I
It was
voted
basically just
for
like
you.
a website popularity contest.
Well, you won it. Like
I did.
best new webcomic 2015. Kate voted for you, as
I
she
did
said.
vote
So
for
like,
you.
Thanks, Kate.
yeah.
Oh, I said thanks like a normal person just then.
Well done.
and Paranatural, it has been shortlisted for an award.
Yeah, it got nominated for something this year.
Yeah, it got
Oh, yeah?
nominated for this year. Let me get that award out. I should have done more prep work, but I have it right here on me. It's the Cartoon Studies Slate Books Cartoonist Studio Prize for Best Webcomic 2019. So these are all like, and a couple of Hive comics actually.
Yeah, Tiger also.
Tiger as well, which we're gonna talk
Steven.
about now. Who wants to take that?
I feel like I've taken the last two. Kate, would you like to?
What to describe
Okay.
it?
Yeah, you read it, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I love
Okay.
Tiger. Oh my god. So I guess it's kind of a high seas romantic adventure. Kind of a there's a lot of comedic elements as well, but mostly it's about the adventures of a lady who has swapped places with her twin brother to go aboard his tall ship because she
The
wants.
Gallant.
Yes, because she wants adventure and to look at sea sponges in more detail because she's a big fan of sea sponges. And it's there's also some nautical sea god sort of stuff nipping at the edges as well, which is getting very, very interesting.
And it's queer.
And it's very
It's
queer, and
extremely.
and we're it's not only been nominated for the Cartoonist Studio Award, it's also been nominated for it was nominated for an Eisner as well.
I thought it won.
Because did it?
No, it didn't.
God,
I
I didn't.
darn.
Well,
think.
cute.
No, it was a nom, not a winner, unfortunately.
Then it was
Damn.
robbed.
Some one-page political comic probably won instead.
It
Like
happens.
I said, I have opinions.
Yeah,
no, familiar opinion.
Yeah, I remember the very first webcomic I edited that was an Eisner nom, and then it didn't win. And then I looked at the winner, and I won't say which comic it is, and I won't say who won. But I looked at it and I was like, really? Is that?
It drives me
lost to that
crazy
one?
that these awards compare or consider a webcomic, like a full color, whatever the hell webcomic, the same as somebody's maybe 3-page autobio, which I'm not saying those comics don't deserve recognition. I just don't think they deserve to be in the same category.
Yeah.
It's always done by very established people as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's that kind of like the well, I mean, this is a conversation for another stream, but like, you know, the it's kind of the problem that any award show goes through, and it's the same that like the Oscars go through. They don't have
Yeah, like
the,
all animated pictures are shoved into one category.
yeah, and they don't have like categories for like best comedy, for example. So they don't like those films obviously just don't get awards at all.
Yeah.
And like so like that is something that webcomics kind of are segregated in that way.
Yeah,
Both
it's
sometimes
nuts,
like
really.
yeah,
sorry.
like some No, it's fine. It's fine.
There you go.
Like both sometimes too segregated and sometimes too like put in with just a hodgepodge of other creators that like the webcomic newbies just don't stand a chance against, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's often the very established people. Like how sometimes there'll be a top 10 webcomics of whatever, and it has like XKCD
Yeah.
or like Control Delete or like where are you? It's 2020.
Yeah, there's so many new ones that also deserve because like it's I mean this is a whole other thing, but like it's you know, like it is what it is.
Yeah.
But Kate, tell me what you like about Tiger Tiger. Tell me
It's absurdly
what's up with it.
gorgeous. It's just absurdly gorgeous. It's beautiful.
It's very pretty to look at, yeah.
I cannot get over like is it do you know her process or is it
I she I edit Tiger Tiger for Hiveworks.
yeah.
What I think she does is that she'll thumbnail and pencil. Atla, what is that?
What?
There's like a low noise that just came from you.
Oh, that would be my phone because I'm literally messaging Petra. So
Oh, well. What was I saying? She
So
thumbnails and pencils on paper, and then she brings it into Procreate to ink and do the watercolors.
I wasn't
Think.
yeah. I wasn't sure if the sort of watercolor wash was like physical or digital.
It's digital.
It's absurdly beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It's another black and white one actually. Second black and white one that we're
Yeah,
talking about, but in a very different way to Sakana because obviously
yeah,
that's got the heavy spot blacks.
yeah. I would say Tiger Tiger definitely relies on just her pure skill with construction and uh, her
Sort of
washes. Yeah, just
yeah.
like the feel of it. I wouldn't
It
be able to attribute it to any one particular quality. I think.
Yeah, it's one of those that's actually quite tricky to pull apart what's gorgeous about it. I think the line weight really helps. Like she's got just an absolute mastery of line weight.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't know where to begin on that. It's incredible. But also the story is fantastic. This current sequence with the flashback in the diary is absolutely killing me. I keep checking the page as soon as I can. As soon as I see there's a new update, I'm just like, oh my god! I never click anything quicker.
I get to see them early.
No, I'm so jealous.
I'm privileged.
Oh.
that I'm actually interested to know, Courtney, how does you being the editor shape your kind of like appreciation of the comic?
That's a good question, and I'll need to think about it.
You need to think about it. Okay,
I need to
well,
think about it.
we'll just abort that question for now, and we'll get back to it. All right, so tell me, guys, in general, what like so there's kind of like this kind of grayscale going on, and it is like engaging you in terms of the actual story. So it's about like this young girl goes on this kind of adventure,
Yeah.
and what about yeah?
I want
Well,
to know if Remy and Jamis get to kiss.
yeah, I really want to know that too.
I want to see how this ends up because she's very ironically a fish out of water here. She does not know what she's doing, and I
Oh,
want to see how she makes it work. Not Petra. I mean what's her name?
I
Ludovica.
was about to say.
Ludovica.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like shocked. I was like, don't
I meant
put
this. I
the
meant the
author
main character.
don't
Everybody
put the
chill.
author on blast like that.
I would
Don't do that.
never. No, I
But
love
yeah,
her.
it's very, very. There's been a recent sort of thing where she's managed to sort of bump up against the more supernatural elements of the story, which I'm very excited to see unfold.
Yeah, I totally want to see more of Luck,
Oh, I really need
that
to see more
character.
of Luck. Oh, what an amazing
She's so
character
cool.
with this incredible intro of her just being hanged, basically, and then just rising out of the depths.
She's fine.
She's fine, and it's great.
Yeah, so,
But
tell
yeah,
me a little bit. Who's Luck in this context?
good question. Who is Luck?
Who is Luck? We just don't know. She's like this brigand, I guess is the word. Like she's just this criminal who's very sexy and was hung for her crimes and thrown out to sea, but then came back
I'm gonna post. I'm just gonna.
magically.
Yeah, there. I've linked to her initial page in the stream chat where she is just immediately just an extremely compelling, interesting character. Like you look at this intro and you're immediately like, I want to know more.
Yeah, you know that something very neat's going on when the introduction of a character is them dying and it's not a story
Yes.
about the afterlife.
And the way like she's up on the gallows just bigging herself up, completely unconcerned about the fact that she's supposedly about to die, flirting with women while on the gallows. She's brilliant. I want to know more. I really want to know more.
She's great.
So yeah, so the story kind of centers around our lead getting to know all these different like hodgepodge of interesting characters with their own kind of backstory and life and whatnot.
Yeah, and at the moment she's sort of accidentally at first, but now very much on purpose, found her brother's diary while aboard his ship, and she's reading through it. And
Like any good sister would.
of course, in fairness, it's extremely compelling.
It is.
And basically discovering some parts of himself that he has kept pretty hidden, and it's all really juicy stuff about the crush he has on his first mate. And
Who is her
great.
fiance?
Who is her fiance?
Drama.
Wow, that okay. So there's like primo, just like juicy soap opera drama sort of thing
Yeah.
going on.
All with the
That's
backdrop of like, you know, a ship about to sink, and you know they have to right the ship while also clearly flirting, but not really.
Jimmy's is very straight as far as we know.
Mm-hmm.
The great
yeah.
tragedy.
But
But there's
so what would you get? Oh, sorry, go
on.
ahead, Kate.
I was just gonna say it's this good mix of sort of sweeping drama and very intriguing character interactions.
Hmm. What would you guys say is like what do you guys take away from like the kind of this comic, because it's a little bit different than many of the others. A lot of the others that we've mentioned, both yours and the recommendations, are more along the lines of like comedy with a heavy undertone of like drama or something along those lines. But this is very much like,
The reverse.
yeah, the reverse. There's like comedy moments, but for the most part it's very like juicy, well-written drama. So what do you guys take away from this rather different story versus the other ones?
I don't know that I necessarily take anything away from it. Like, I assume you mean like influence?
Yeah.
I don't think I do. Not as a bad thing. Like, I think it's one of the things I just really enjoy looking at and reading, but I don't know that I would necessarily read. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is.
It's
Like,
oh, go on, sorry.
nah, I was still just trying to find a word, but you go. I feel like you might have more, because your genre is maybe closer to Tigers than mine is.
Perhaps, yeah. I was just gonna say, so it's a little bit tricky to be like, what influences you? Because sometimes it is just that you just really enjoy the thing and you don't necessarily notice an influence creeping in.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mhm.
probably still there, but it, you know, it's the sort of thing that you might look back on after a couple of years and just be like, oh, because I watched this show or read this comic or read this book, I think I got a bit better at, you know, character interactions or whatever.
Yeah, like with Sakata and Paranatural, those are comics I would specifically look at as influence because they're the kinds of things I know for a fact I want to be similar to and want to do.
Mm.
But Tiger's Tiger is very different from my work, so I wouldn't look at it in a learning kind of way, but I do look at those in a learning kind of way. So it might be influencing me. It's just not as intentional.
Yeah, because I'm looking at the comic right now, and it has a lot of like what you guys like about Sakana and Paranatural. It has like very distinct facial expressions, really
Mm.
good both comedy and drama facial expressions, and so like it does have a lot of the elements that you two quoted as being kind of influences to your own work. So it's interesting that it wouldn't be counted among those, you know. But at a certain point, also like you stop paying attention to like what's influencing you,
Yeah.
especially when you're getting like later into your kind of career and you're kind of
Yeah, like once you're more established, you don't necessarily look at things that way as much.
Mm.
Like I did get into Paranatural early on into making Never Satisfied, but I already was by then. And then it's like, oh my god, this is what I want to be doing. Sakana's been there forever though. I was reading that when I was in like 10th grade.
Oh god.
yeah.
Sorry, Kate.
Sorry, Kate.
I remember when it was on DeviantArt.
When I was when Hive was starting, I was not of legal age yet. So like that should give you a good indicator of
I don't think I was either.
No, neither of us were.
I remember I got reached out to when I was doing the original Never Satisfied, which Kate might remember.
I do remember.
Kate remembers. And I was like, no, at that time. And then that Never Satisfied died. And then the new one got picked up. And thank God for that. The other one was bad. It was bad.
This one is very, very good.
Thank you, Kate.
I do want to mention we're allowed to go a little bit over time, so that's fine because we still have a couple of things. But one thing I do want to mention is both you and me, Courtney, are editors for Hive, and we edit books, and we also create our own stuff. Like I write, and you do both writing and drawing.
Yep.
And one thing I do know from like personal experience, because I have edited stuff that normally would be huge influences on me, like very overtly. But when you're in an editorial position and you see all the like raw files and you see all the raw writing and you have to kind of like be like, no, that doesn't work, you need to change this or stuff like that. Like the story, the end story kind of like hits a little bit different for you.
Yeah, I would
agree. Like the emotional impact is different, you know. Like
yeah.
So I think. Go ahead.
No, you finish your thought.
I just think that it like a lot of the stories that we deal with like have that air of like, oh, this was a job that I did, rather than this is something I'm reading to try and kind of like either just enjoy or like experience as a creator and maybe like understand better, you know.
Yeah. I don't know. A lot of the work I do editorial wise for Hiveworks is more going through the submissions and doing text editing. I don't actually have too many opportunities to do story editing because a lot of my people are very they're very independent and they know what they want to do and they don't need my help. Yeah. But yeah, I would agree. Like for Tiger, I do know some story elements. Like I do know some of Luck's deal.
Mm-hmm.
More than you guys would.
Oh.
So that I'm not going to tell you anything.
You better not. Yeah. I want to experience it in the comic.
It's going to be neat.
It's going to be. It's really interesting because like I picked. I got to like basically when we were kind of assigning editors for last year, I got to kind of pick most of the comics that I really, really wanted to work on. And it's really interesting because you're telling me like, oh yeah, I have mostly people that like
I think I'm Kate's editor, right?
You are.
Yeah, and we've never
Yeah,
We never talk about
exactly.
the story because Kate knows what she's doing.
Yeah, like so like there's a lot of that. Meanwhile, on my end, and this is not a drag on any of the wonderful people that I work with, a lot of them are like, I need some help with this.
That's great
I'm
though.
ending my yeah, like they definitely need like more hands-on experience. So even at like I think I have 3 or 4 comics that are ending a little bit before they wanted to. Like
Mm-hmm.
so
It's a
like
tragedy.
but like they were just like I'm done. I want to finish up and like it's been a good time, but I want to like shave off a couple of years and do other stuff. And like that's cool. And it's just
I respect
interesting.
that very much.
Yeah,
Absolutely. You know, actually
like
put a
calling
Especially
lid
it
if
on
your
a
story
film.
is in a place where you can do that.
Oh yeah.
It's
yeah.
like, oh,
Like thankfully all of them are like they're not like blowing up. They're just like I looked at it. I thought I was gonna do like 4 more years, 6 more years, and I want to maybe do 2 more years or like 6 more months or something like that.
mm-hmm.
And like I totally respect that as well. Like you said, like because that does take a lot of effort. But what I was gonna say in relation to this topic is like if I'm like nearly constantly kind of jumping around and be like, okay, you need help, you're on a hiatus, you're on a break, you're doing your buffer. So like all of the Hive comics that I picked out that I love have now an air of like that work element where I'm like, oh no,
Oh, that's a shame.
I act yeah, like all of the comics that I really love are now my job.
That sounds familiar.
uh it's but like that's not like I said, like that's not their fault. Like they're and it's not like that is my literally me and Corny's jobs is to assist when they need assistance, you know.
Yeah, like
I
at
think
Hiveworks, it's entirely voluntary on the creator side, whether they want our help in that way or not.
I
It's
think
not that
Yeah.
we
that's
don't do it.
yeah, I
We
think
still
that's a
want it.
really great thing that you guys offer actually. Like just having the door open for questions like, yeah, like how do I shave a couple of years off of this? You know, I'm gonna be grandma again. Back in my day, we were very much like kind of left adrift. You know, you'd form
Insular.
communities where yeah, you form communities where you make friends with people, you know, and you chat with them, but it's a very different vibe to yeah, I will help you with this and I will treat you like, you know, the person who wants to get this done. You know, you are a working like professional and you want to do this. And you know, just having somebody to bounce ideas off in a slightly more professional context, that's absolutely a fantastic thing to have. So good on you guys for offering that is what I mean.
Yeah. I mean that's kind of the high works bread and butter is like adapting to the needs of creators and you know, like a lot of behind the scenes stuff that I can't quite mention, but like one example is like people have needed more Kickstarter assistance recently.
Mm-hmm.
Uh especially because we're getting a lot of new folks in and stuff like that. And like so like we got to a point last year where there were more Kickstarter requests than there were people available to help. And so like after like I think 1 or 2 editorial meetings, we were just like, okay, myself and Giselle, one of the other editors, are just going to be trained this year to kind of like meet that demand, you know, so we can also take care of more of the workload when that comes in later. Uh, that's kind of been nerfed now that everything's been going on.
Yeah.
But you know, like you get where I'm going with it. Like they're like that's kind
We're
of
doing our
the
best.
yeah, we're doing our best, and that's the strength of Hive is just being like more people than average need help with this. Let's see if we can find a way to help with this, you know.
It is a definite strength because yeah, back when we'd have to learn everything on our own or through the grapevine. Like how do I make a WordPress? Oh god, and even back
What's a
before
keen spot?
WordPress. Yeah, oh no, get me started on Keenspot.
Please, I don't know anything about it. I'm a baby.
Uh, It's all good. That's a whole other thing.
I'm just here to cause Kate pain.
We're just about done for now, but like if I would love either you, me, or like myself and you two, or like myself and Kate or whoever, like I would love to talk more about like webcomics then and now and like ending comics and stuff like that. I think that would be a really interesting topic to deal with next
Yeah.
time.
I'd love to listen to a talk on that.
You
Yeah.
want, you
Not
want
participate because I've never finished anything in my life. But
Tales from Grandma. Now you want Grandma. I
Yeah.
see how it is.
When I'm useful, when I can bake the cookies, that's when you want me here.
You avocado whippersnappers.
All right. So it's time for the outro. We're just about done for today. Where can people find you guys?
you can find me on Twitter at cornhime, Hime, or on Tumblr, which is ocorny, like OH corny, and at my website, neversatisfiedcomic.com.
Yeah, and I'm on Twitter at Kate Draws Comics. Same for Tumblr and pretty much everything else. And Widdershins is widdershinscomic.com.
And
That's it. Nowhere else.
nowhere else. I was just gonna be like, because you were like, ah, I'm the grandma, and you're like, I still have an active Tumblr, and I'm like, yeah, that tracks.
Hey,
But
I still use my Tumblr. It's where people harass me in my inbox.
I like the people on Tumblr. Follow the comic. They're all very nice.
But you can find me at Atla the Writer, ATLA thewriter.com. You can also find me at the same on Twitter, Atla the Writer. I am on break right now. I went on social media vacation because I just couldn't anymore. But I will be starting like mid-May, something like that. And we'll look into that. But you can find me on the Twitter all the same and follow me and wait for that. Like good patient people. But yeah, that should cover it. Do you guys have any last words?
Excelsior.
Absolutely.
Oh, I can't beat that. Yeah, he got it.
All right, that should be it. See you guys later. We'll hopefully, I don't know if we have other streams right now. Our tech DJ will be furiously writing in my private message about whether or not we have anything. But we'll at the very least have some more of these streams coming soon. We have an interview today.
Yeah.
We have an interview today with Brienne of HarpG. Lovely animator, lovely animation
Comic
director,
artist.
comics artist who does HarpG. Very beautiful comic that I
also like RPG.
Yeah, we should have recommended it. We're fools.
Oh my god, is that a pun on RPG?
Taylor.
Dude.
Taylor Robin Corney.
I've never said it out loud in my life.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
This is live. This is recorded.
Cut the stream. Get me out of here.
It's immortalized forever.
I'm never letting you live this down. The first time we meet, this is gonna be the first thing I say to you.
Oh no.
You know what? You got there in the end.
I got there.
All right. See you guys soon. Thank you guys so much for watching.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go jump in a hole.
I'm gonna go get food. All right. See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye.